So for those of you who have just joined, I'm just asking really quickly that you share your first name with us in the chat so that I can keep track of attendance. Again, I am the admissions representative for Syracuse at this session, but we have more important people in the room. First being Dr. Michael Sponsler, who is a faculty member and a professor for forensic science at Syracuse, and also Amber Vanderpool, who is a current student in forensics. So Dr. Sponsler, I'll let you take it away and tell students a little bit about the program. Students, I encourage you again to ask questions in the chat so that I can pass those along to Dr. Sponsler and he'll know kind of what's on your mind.
Okay, well, thank you and welcome everybody. And we're going to try and make this informal, so feel free to ask questions and speak up. I will say some things about the forensics major, and if you have questions at any time, feel free to speak up. And Amber is also here as a student in the program who can also answer questions. So first thing that I want to make sure everybody knows is that our forensics major is actually a double major program at Syracuse University. So if you're a forensic science major at Syracuse University, you have to have another major also. And that other major could potentially be anything else. There are 8 other majors that are specified and are listed in the major requirements. And the reason for that is that we have one of our requirements is called a connection course. And the idea is that with a double major program, we want to make a connection between the 2 majors. So the connection course idea is that it's going to help tie together the forensic science major with your other major. And so for those 8 majors that are listed, the connection course is already determined and it's listed in the requirements. If your major is going to be something else, then we will need to figure out what your connection course should be, and we would do that when you sign up for the major. So just I'll make a few points here. One is that the major, since it is a double major, it has fewer credits required than many majors. It requires 25 or 26 credits, depending on what your other major is. Well, some majors like chemistry or biology, for example, are up in the 40s. So it's not as many courses required. It's 8 courses. And the basic layout is that there are 3 courses that are required for everybody, and that is an intro to forensic science, a course called Advanced Forensic Science, and a statistics course, Math 221, which is probability and statistics. The 4th course is the connection course, which I mentioned. Actually, there's a 5th course that's required of everybody, and that is the Capstone course. And the other 3 courses are electives. There's a long list of courses that can serve as electives, and you can pick from anything from that list. So an important point to make about this major is that it's very flexible, because 3 out of the 8 courses are electives. You can pick a lot of different possible courses. And that list includes lots of forensic science courses. It also includes courses in a number of other departments. So there's a lot of possible courses for electives. I also point out that the Capstone course is also flexible because really the Capstone course is a course where you're doing an independent project. So you have to identify a mentor and a research project, actually classes to attend, but most of the work for that class is on your project. And of course, you can pick the project whatever you want. So that's another big part of flexibility. So essentially, it's about half the major that is completely flexible.
So by
So,
raising your hand in the Zoom function, or I guess on screen, I mean, we don't have to overcomplicate it. Can the student show us if you are excited about the idea of having that flexibility? I'd like you to raise your hand now. Okay. And if you're intimidated completely by the idea of needing to customize a major that you probably don't know that much about to begin with, could you raise your hand now? Okay, not as many as I thought. So that's good. So I was going to kind of gauge how we should continue talking about the flexibility of these majors, because a lot of times students do fall into those couple of camps, right? We're telling you, well, you're flexible, do all this stuff. And you're like, we're asking you to tell me about forensics, right? I'm the one that needs to learn from you, and you're telling me to figure it out. So given that it seems that most in our group are interested in the flexibility, maybe Amber and then Dr. Sponsler could share with us some of the kind of unique classes. So Amber is a very biological sciences, STEM type driven student. So she might have some good examples of that. And then maybe Dr. Sponsler could tell you a little bit more, because he has a more broad understanding of the program, about some of the psychological aspects or political aspects that you can learn about within the program. So we'll start with Amber, but the forensics department just has really, really cool classes, right? I'm not someone that really cares about forensic science personally, but then when I see these classes they offer, I feel like I could jump right in. So Amber, I'll let you just give a couple examples really quickly.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go a little bit. So I'm currently a junior, so I've taken a good amount of forensics classes so far, and I also do research in forensics, so I have a good amount of experience with this. So class I'm in right now is biological analysis of biological evidence. So we look at sexual assault kits and biological evidence that comes with that, and then we perform the tests. So it's kind of the exact same way it would happen in a actual crime lab. So I think that's like one of my favorite and most interesting classes right now. I'm also in the advanced class, which is more of like a broad overview of forensics. Next semester I'm taking a DNA class, which is just everything about DNA. I'm taking a forensic linguistics class next semester, which I think will be really interesting. There's crime scene investigating, there's a bloodstain class, latent print examination. I haven't taken a lot of those yet, but I'm also doing the grad program, so I'm going to take way more of those when I have to do that. But those are some of the most interesting ones. I'm trying to think what else I'm going to take. Oh, and then when you pick like your main one, like you have to take your main science ones, but I took genetics, which is also a great class. But yeah, those are some of the coolest ones. There's like crime scene. I'm really excited to take that too. But there's basically a bunch of electives that you just get to pick whichever ones you want. So that it's very like, just depending on what your actual interests are, you can really pick and choose what you want to do. You don't have to do like the aspects of forensics that you might not be interested in, because it is obviously such a broad applied science. So I think that's really nice that you get to customize it like that. So yeah, you can kind of look at the list too to see what there is, but there's so many things to choose from, like so many classes.
And then maybe while we go to Dr. Sponsler, Amber, could you drop the link to the forensics course catalog for students to kind of look at the complete list? That would be great. And then Dr. Sponsler, maybe it would be interesting for students to hear about your personal favorite course to teach, or maybe even that someone else teaches. And then if you have examples of some range for students that might be more interested in not necessarily the biological side of forensics, but also the political science type side or psychology.
Okay. Well, I guess I would say that I'm sad to say that I haven't taken any of these courses myself. I've heard our instructors give presentations, and they're very good. They're very committed, and but I would love to take these classes myself. But in any case, um yeah, in terms of other courses, Amber mentioned a bunch of them, but we have something that amazes me. I'll just say is that. When we first, this is years ago, we're talking about over 10 or a little over 10 years ago when we were starting this program, we hesitated to actually have a full-fledged latent prints course because our thinking was latent prints, okay, that's an important area in forensic science, but does it really deserve its own class? Is there really enough material for a whole class in latent prints? And we actually had a latent prints person nearby who wanted to teach the class. He was trying to convince us, yeah, there is enough there. Well, we ultimately, the first time we ran latent prints, it was a combination course of firearms. And then the second time we said, okay, go ahead and do the whole course. Well, will you believe this? Right now we have 3 latent prints courses. 3 different latent prints courses. So yes, there is enough material to have a full course. There's actually enough material for 3 different courses in latent prints. We also have 3 different courses in firearms examination. That is just mind blowing to me as well. That is just, there's just so much in this field to learn. So, so if it's interesting, if you're really interested in latent prints, well, you can get a pretty in-depth, exposure to that field that will really make you marketable as a candidate for that field. Same for firearms, 3 classes in each of those. We have actually a certificate available in medical legal death investigation. And if you don't know what a medical legal death investigator is, that's somebody who assists a medical examiner in the medical examiner's office on doing death investigations. Important point, medical examiner is a doctor. That's a forensic pathologist, that's a doctor. So to become a forensic pathologist or a medical examiner, you have to go to med school. To become a medical legal death investigator, you need a bachelor's degree in something. We actually do have a master's degree in medical legal death investigation, maybe the only one in the country. But in any case, that's a way to get into death investigation without having to go to med school.
I think students are getting more interested in that because I actually get a couple emails each application cycle from students who specifically want to be medical legal death investigators. And I think that's kind of a newer thing. So yeah, students, if you're looking for that money without going to a bunch of years of school after undergrad, just something to think about in the back of your mind.
Yeah. And I guess I would also say that another point about flexibility, I said that we have a long list of electives. There's also other courses that aren't even on our electives list that relate to forensic science. So, you know, for example, political science is not a major that we have listed in our documentation. But I think at the moment we have actually 3 or 4 political science majors who are doubles majors with forensics. And there's no problem picking out a connection course for them because there's at least 2 or 3 political science courses that relate to forensic science. They're not on our electives list, but we're using them for connection courses. And if any other forensic science student were really interested in those courses and wanted to take one of them as an elective, all they would have to do is write a petition, and that would be approved because it is related.
So students, some of you
courses. No, go ahead.
For some of you who haven't been maybe to a general Syracuse University presentation or one of my presentations where I kind of talk about arts and sciences and Maxwell as a whole, you might not know this. So I'll just kind of add the admissions thing in, which is that something that makes Syracuse unique compared to the other schools you're considering is what Dr. Sponsler is talking about right now, that flexibility. You'll hear from a lot of other schools, yeah, we're flexible, yeah, you can customize. But at Syracuse, we're giving you real live examples of how students are doing that. And the point of the forensic science major being a required double major is exactly that. So if it were not a required double major, we would not be offering you 3 latent prints classes. We would not be offering you multiple firearms classes. We would not be offering crime scene photography, because we would have to cram in the general information about biology, psychology, sociology, political science, the legal side of forensics, biochemical side of forensics into 1 degree. So you'd get a very general view of all these different topics. Whereas by making it a required double major, we can let you get the general stuff in whatever area you want. So for some of you, it'll be psychology. For some of you, it'll be biochemistry. For some of you, it'll be maybe like Dr. Sponsler said, you might petition to do political science or a more legal related field. So you're not having to sit through a bunch of classes about what everyone else cares to hear about. You're going to take those basics in what you care about, and then take these really specific, unique classes through our forensic science major on the topics that you want to take. So when we say customization, that's what we're talking about. Your forensic science degree is going to look very different from the person next to you, right? Maybe you take all 3 of those latent prints courses and someone else is absolutely uninterested in that. So they take a bunch of sociology instead, right? So that's what we mean. And that's a unique thing about Syracuse, and certainly a huge benefit to being in our forensic science program compared to that from other schools. I just got a private question. Would computer/digital forensics fall under this major? Dr. Sponsler, do you have an answer for that? I'm not sure that I know what digital forensics is. Is this like tracking online activity as it relates to crime?
Actually, it's actually analysis of digital evidence.
Oh, okay.
So evidence like computers and cell phones and lots of other things that have digitized data. A bread maker can be a piece of digital evidence. But interesting you would ask that, because we have just submitted for consideration a new master's program in digital forensics. It's actually a collaborative program between the iSchool Information Studies and Arts and Sciences. So yeah, I guess to answer the question directly, we do not have, or we do have one course called Digital Forensics, which is on our electives list. But that's the only course that's actually on our electives list now. There certainly are other courses related to digital forensics, and that's what you're really interested in. Then by petition, you could include more than just that one course in that area.
I have another question.
Is a big area that's in forensics right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As well as security studies, that kind of goes hand in hand with this need for more computer science based knowledge. So I mentioned this in the chat, but we have a computer science minor at Syracuse. Any of the minors at CUSE you can add on to your major, and there are over 100 to choose from. So for this student, computer science could be a cool option. I think Amber could maybe respond to this, maybe Dr. Sponsler as well. Another question that I received privately, is the double major path considered more difficult, or does it have more challenging coursework than a single major path? So is an ILM much different in terms of course load than a standard major?
Yeah, so I can speak on this. So obviously, or it's definitely more work than just one major because you are doing 2. However, the ILMs are a lot less than doing 2 full double majors. They're kind of made for you to take it on as an extra major. So it has less load work, so that because they know you're trying to do 2, if not more than that. So I think it's about, actually, I don't remember how many credits it is, but it's definitely not, it's manageable. It's not bad. I'm doing it with biochemistry, which is an extremely credit heavy major, and I'm managing pretty well. Should graduate early. Make sure your time management